Vietnam. Vietnam.
Safety equipment.
Roger, good copy. I'll remain on Able Creek until I move into battle. Michigan into Roger, Romeo. Roger, Romeo, Michigan. Hey, Roger, detect Patnell up.
Actually, I can't even sleep, honestly. I've been on about 4 or 5 different types of sleeping pills and none of them help. That's how bad the nightmares are. I prefer not to sleep and not dream about it than sleep and just see the picture in my head is pretty bad.
Oh, Tracy came right by here. South. Hey. Oh, there's fire coming. They're shooting. Hey, over there. Where? Tell me. Get him.
That support fire from the base right down there.
Hey, where do they shoot from down there?
Hi, my name's Sebastian Junger. I'm an author and journalist, documentary filmmaker. I've covered wars all over the world. My last combat assignment was at a remote American outpost called Restrepo.
It's like, cops taking it direct.
They're gathering intel right now basically on how to deal with us, because there's no really research or intel on how to treat us right now, because they haven't had to deal with people like us since, World War II and Vietnam, dealing guys that are coming back from 15-month deployments with as much fighting, as we went through.
As hard as it was out there, a lot of them missed it, and they had tremendous difficulty readjusting to life back home. That's because out there they had something many Americans lack: community. As one soldier said, there's guys in the platoon who straight up hate each other, but we'd all die for each other.
Feels like longer than forever, yeah. My home is now a distant land. If I had one wish, I wish I could be back on that rock.
I'd rather be there than here. I'd go back right now if I could.
How can we help veterans transition? How can we help veterans reincorporate themselves back into the society, back into the nation that they fought so hard for? For most of human history, trauma was experienced in groups and also recovered from in groups. That's the human norm. And we are adapted to deal with trauma in that way. And I looked at some of the ceremonies that tribal societies have used to bring warriors back from the battlefield, back from combat. And I looked at a ceremony called the gourd dance that was used by the Kiowa and other native societies of the southern Great Plains. And the gourd dance basically takes returning warriors and gives them a chance to sing, to dance, to speak to their community, to explain what they did for their people to defend them. That ceremony was resurrected in the wake of Vietnam to help Kiowa warriors, Native American Vietnam vets, incorporate and heal veterans back into society. So how do you do this in a modern nation of almost 400 million people? We're not the Kiowa. The idea that I came up with is called Vets Town Hall. People have been fighting and defending their communities since the dawn of time. Most people consider it an honor to be called to serve in that way, but it has costs. It has human costs, because war is the worst thing, and it takes a terrible toll on everyone that it touches. Veterans from any war who served in any capacity have the right to stand up and speak for 10 minutes to their community at their town hall about what it felt like to fight for this country.
This poppy that I wear was from an event that I went to at the Akwesasne Mohawk Reservation in upstate New York. What we're doing here, they do regularly in their longhouse. I was one of the few people that was outside their tribe that they let into the longhouse to do a veterans benefit. How that day went, it started at 7 o'clock in the morning, It ended at 7:30 at night. There were 300 Mohawk warriors that started with us at 07. There were 300 Mohawk warriors that finished with us at 1930 that evening.
The war is complicated. It does not fit into neat political categories.
In 2001, I had the wonderful pleasure to return to Vietnam and to spend the summer there at the University of Hue. And at one point, one of the students put her hand up and said to the Vietnamese hosts, "What does it feel like for you to have him sitting across the table from you?" And one of them came forward and said, "Well, first, we're very happy that he came back. The war was a long time ago. It is not that we forget, but we have to move on." And the sequel here, if you will, one of them stood and spoke to the group and said, "What did bring you back?" There had been a story that had been on my mind for the better part of half a century, 25 years at that point, now over 50 years. And it was an incident that happened in the Quai Son Valley when we were out on a tank infantry patrol. But I could make out what I thought was a pith helmet. I started to rise and I thought I could see a red star. And I was sitting on top of a 52-ton tank, M48A3, with a 50 caliber machine gun pointing at him. And I could see what looked like an AK-47 rifle that he was armed with. This happened very quickly, but I didn't fire. And I don't know why. And neither did he. And so what I said to my Vietnamese host was, if I could have any wish, that wish would be to meet that man and to thank him for my life. I said, what I would really like to do is stand in front of him and give him a salute. One of them got up, came around the table, stood at attention in front of me, and took that salute.
So I'd like to tell one particular person's story. First Lieutenant Rosalind Schultz. We were both female intelligence lieutenants, trained at the same base in Texas. We were the same age, both single, no kids, on the same road on the same day in Afghanistan. And I remember as we were leaving Bagram, the guy at the gate said to the driver, there had been a big explosion, and we should just be careful, aware of that on our drive. And that was the attack that killed Lieutenant Schultz. Her truck hit a roadside bomb, and she died in the medevac helicopter. And I was just haunted by the horror of how she died and the pain of what she experienced.
There are no Republicans or Democrats at a Vets Town Hall. There are no religious people or atheists. There are just Americans. There are just human beings. The experience of being reminded of that is a profound one that itself helps veterans heal from the wounds of war.
It was the policy in our battalion that anything that came in, we would fire right back once we knew where it was from. I didn't take my mind to other questions about where those rounds were landing until I changed jobs. I got to see that what was happening was folks would fire the weapons from playgrounds. They were doing this from schools. They were doing this from marketplaces, you name it. They were doing it in places where the design was to turn the people against us. I mean, they would fire whatever from a place that was highly populated where they knew we would kill a lot of people when we responded. It didn't really hit me until we'd gotten home and I was in Fort Benning. I'd already moved from my unit, maybe sometime 2006, and I was at a park, and there was a playground there, and there was some kids playing, and I just lost it. Like I couldn't hold it in. I just started crying and crying and crying.
My hope is that one day there will be thousands or tens of thousands of Vets Town Hall events all across the country. That will help give veterans a sense of purpose, a sense of understanding of their role in our society, but it will also maybe serve to reunite this country in a common purpose with a common goal.